Hey, boys and girls, guys and gals, moms and dads, welcome back to another episode of Chopping It Up, ... Very special guest this week is not really a special guest. This is my co-founder. Who does this labor of love with me, this labor of love, which we call Duplication Nation. And we are a virtual community spread all over the world of citizens of Duplication Nation who are dedicated to the principles of free enterprise, entrepreneurship, collaboration, and helping people who really want to build their dreams. So just know that that's a place you should go, duplication.com, sign up for the newsletter, the MLM Boot Camp, and lots of good stuff, lots of great stuff. And so this person who comes after the ... is no other than Jaime Lokier. How are you doing, my brother?
I'm amazing. It's really fun to be here after watching all the previous episodes. I was wondering, when were you gonna invite me to practice my English here?
Yeah, it's so seriously, for people watching or listening, Jaime is actually doing this series in Spanish with people, and I'm doing it in English. And we've just been saying, we got to get the two of us together in one show. And we need to put subtitles under this one for Spanish, and then so we could put it over on the other channel. But this is just a project that we have thought about for a long time, and we've just felt like, okay, it can't wait any longer. All this nonsense with the MLM crypto scams because I don't know what you think, but I'm just shocked at how many of these bad actors just keep reappearing. Literally, sometimes after they go to jail, they get shut down, they lose everything, they go to jail, and 3 years later, they're starting another crazy deal, and nobody seems to think, well, this is a convicted felon who was shut down for a Ponzi scheme 3 years ago, so maybe I shouldn't get involved.
Yeah, but you know what? That's not what surprises me the more. What surprises me the most, is that in the past, those people, when you used to tell them, hey, this is a pyramid scheme, they used to say, no, how do you dare to say that? Listen, we have all these certifications, and they used to try to show you that it was not a pyramid scheme. And I don't know what happens in the United States, but in Latin America, on these days, when you confront those people, they say, yes, I know it's a pyramid scheme. And everyone who I'm talking to, I tell them that this has risk. Of course, they don't tell them it's a pyramid scheme, but they tell them they are adults, and I tell them that every investment has their risks, and they know if they want to put their money here or not. So now they are not even trying to tell you that it's not a pyramid scheme, and I just can't believe it. I never thought we would see this.
Yeah, it gets to the point where there's some of that here in the US, not as much because the prison sentences are more serious, right, and the regulatory environment is more stronger. But there are those people who just like, yeah, I know it's a money game, but I'm gonna get my cash, and then I'm gonna go straight. Right. It's like saying, okay, I know robbing banks are wrong, but once I rob 3 or 4 banks and I get enough money to buy my mom a house and pay off my car and my credit cards, then I'm going to stop robbing banks, and I'm going to be a policeman, a
Right.
contributing member to society. And they're like, they just don't understand it. It doesn't quite work that way.
Yeah, it's amazing. And then you have very famous people promoting those pyramid schemes or those money games, which didn't happen in the past. People used to be more careful. I mean, if I'm an author of amazing books that everyone reads, or I'm someone that everyone knows in the industry, I used to be very careful about where I'm putting my name. And I thought that with all social media, people would be even more careful, because right now, if you do something, everyone knows about it instantly. But apparently not. Apparently, or maybe in the past, I didn't know that those people were on the money games, and now I actually see it. But I know in United States, there are a couple very famous people on that. But in Latin America, you have very famous authors of personal development that they know that they have hundreds of followers, hundreds of thousands of followers in network marketing. And they join because they see here like a quick fix to their dawn, to the dawn of their career, which is scary. I mean, I really think, and I'm sure you too, that's why we are doing this. This is the first time I was really afraid of that pyramid movement, because in the past, I always had this sense of, okay, there are many people doing it, but they will never be so strong that they will actually collapse the whole industry. And now I really think so. I really think that if we don't build something to counterattack that, they could be so strong and they could damage so many people that they could actually close all MLM in the whole world. Because at some point, if people don't actually understand the difference between what they are doing and what we are doing, the pyramid schemes and the actual solid network marketing companies, if people don't understand very clear what's the difference, at some point, the government will have to say, you know what? If you have anything to do with something that it's similar to this, you're closed down.
It's so I wrote a blog post which I was attacked for. Rest in peace, Bitcoin. As you know, we had a lot of discussions on that, and I got a lot of flack on this, because a lot of stupid flack, a lot of ignorant flack, where people were like, if you only knew how the blockchain worked, then you wouldn't be so stupid. And if you only understood what Bitcoin was, then you'd never make such foolish statements. And they have no idea how much expertise, and I don't claim to be a tech person. I could not program a blockchain. I don't not make it very clear. I'm not claiming anything like that. But I was talking about blockchain and Bitcoin, when I wrote Risky is the New Safe in whatever, I don't know, 2013 or something like that, or 2011 maybe, and invested very big in a few things that did very, very well for me. So I'm not a 90-year-old Warren Buffett or Charlie Munger who never, just thinks it's all air. Right. I'm somebody who understands how technology works, how the marketplace works, and came to the belief that, this space is so sketchy right now. And it's when I sold my Bitcoin, it's when the ICOs were going, which, what do they call them? Initial coin offering stands for, instead of initial public offering, for the IPOs you do for taking a company public. So everybody realized, I can just make up some imaginary shit coin and have an ICO and just rake in literally tens of millions of dollars or hundreds of millions of dollars and they didn't even have a blockchain. They never developed a white paper. They they go to Fiverr and pay somebody in Asia $57 to write a white paper. That was just,
Right.
they cut and paste stuff from the Bitcoin one and then change verbiage. And, it was just crazy. And then why I wrote this, which is more recently, this is last year I wrote that, when I said, no, I'm out of the space, everything I've been holding on to. I said, okay, I'm going to hold one Bitcoin. At some point, Bitcoin might go to $400,000. And so why don't I hold it? Because I bought it at $14,000. But I just felt like, no, now this is conflicting with my principles of how I live my life. Because I believe true profit, legitimate free enterprise is created when we solve problems, we add value, or we envision a superior possibility, a better outcome. And I felt none of that is being done in cryptocurrency right now. None of that is being done in NFTs right now. I don't want my name associated. When I die, I want my tombstone to read, he never sold anybody a worthless shitcoin, or he never sold anybody a worthless NFT. And I watched all my colleagues in the author space and the consultant space and the speaker space do their NFT projects. And, $8 million in 40 minutes and $75 million raised in 2 days and whatever. And they all were, riding high on the hog. And I honestly can't think of a single person I know now who did an NFT who wishes they wouldn't have done it.
Right.
Well, that's not true. I've met GaryVee. It's not like we're friends or something. I met him at VCon, not at VoiceCon, and there was a VIP dinner that we were at the table together, and so it's not like we're friends. He wouldn't know me from Adam, but I feel like he probably still glad he did his NFT stuff, because he built in, I think he saw where it was going, and he built in so much value added stuff. Like, okay, if you buy my whatever optimistic otter, you're going to get 5 years of tickets to VCon. You're going to get 10 hours of consulting with me. You're going to get this and that and a Ginzu knife thing and whatever. So I think he kind of protected himself against the backlash that so many other people are getting. So maybe I don't want to say I don't know anybody who's glad they did it. Probably Gary is. But I don't know anyone else who, if given the chance to go back in time and not do their NFT launch, would have just say, no, you know what? I would never do that again. The technology wasn't ready. The community understanding wasn't ready. It was total done. It was just gambling. I'm going to buy it for X amount, and I'm going to sell it for XYZ amount. Like the whole NFT fine art thing. These are fucking JPEGs of monkeys. Really,
that blows my mind. The fact that people pay $8 million for a JPEG of a monkey, that it's pixelated, it blows my mind.
Yes.
Yeah, that really, I can't understand that. But you know what? The big difference between this and all the pyramid schemes that we were talking about is that I deeply believe that 99% of people that invested in NFTs and developed their NFTs, they were naive and hopeful and ignorant, and they really didn't understand that this had no solid basis, because it's the first time we saw something like this in history. All these pyramid guys, they know what they're doing. They know it's a scam. They know it's a money game, and that's a moral difference. To sum this up, this is crazier than ever. and the people who actually love network marketing and know the power of network marketing need to get united to show the world that we actually care about this and that we actually have a way to do this, helping people, and that we understand the difference between how to do it right and how to do it wrong. And that's the only way we can save this profession. I really think so.
Yeah, it's and again, I agree with you. I don't know. I don't remember a time when high profile people like this made those kind of endorsements. They were more protective of their name and their reputation. There's always been that there. I've always had offers of people, literally, sometimes was one time at least, where they brought $100,000 worth of cash in a suitcase and told me, when we leave, we're just going to leave this under the table and you walk away with it. It's tax-free, whatever. We just want to put you at the top of the structure, and we give you, auto qualify you, and we'll put everybody underneath you, and blah blah blah. And I never count other people's money. I know what it is. I know what it is to roll up 100 pennies in 2 rolls of paper, penny wrappers, and take them to the gas station to buy $1 worth of gas. I've done that in my life. Which for people listening now, they can't even understand, because they'd say $1 worth of gas wouldn't get you out of the gas station.
Right.
But what they don't understand is, back in those days, $1 worth of gas got you 3 gallons of gas. You could go, so that took me back and forth to work for 3 more days or 4 more days, so I could scrape up enough money to get more gas again. I mean, I have lived like that. I have lived on $8,000 a year. I lived on $11,000 a year. And I've sold my furniture when I had a dream and I, refused to give up on it. And I sold my furniture and slept on the floor. So I know how desperation drives you to validate your actions. A guy like Bernie Madoff, if you watch that documentary on Netflix, and when they're interviewing him in prison, and you just understand that he didn't even, at some point, these people lie so much that they don't even know they're lying anymore. They just believe it. You find ways. There's very few bank robbers or armed robbers or murderers even, or that would tell you they're an evil person. Almost all of them will validate and justify their actions by
Absolutely.
some crazy form of reasoning that they believe is logical. And it's like, I was working on my prosperity podcast the other day, and one of and I wrote about it in my blog about the people. Actually, it's going to come out on Monday. People haven't seen it yet, but by the time this show is up, it'll be out there. And the headline of it is just "Someday," because everybody is, well, someday I'm going to write a book. I'm going to climb Mount Everest. Someday I'm going to launch a nonprofit. Someday, and then the level after that is, when I make X amount of money, then I will blank, fill in the blank. So once I make $1 million, then I'll come home before 10 at night and I'll see what my children look like. Once I make $10 million, then I'll start spending time with my wife and my elderly parents and my children and my loved ones, but first I've got to achieve this number. And the thing I found is that I've never seen anybody hit their number and then change. So if their number is $1 million, as soon as they hit $1 million, then it raises to 10 million. And then when they get to 10 million, right, it has to be 100 million. And I wrestle with this myself. I just had a long conversation yesterday with Art Jonak about, because I sent you the photo, right? I was watching the Mind Valley seminar, and they had Naveen James' house. And I sent you, and I trolled you, and I said, if you'd step it up a little, I could afford to buy my house like this. And I sent it to Jonak, and he went and found the house and sent me a better picture and said, you can put it up on your dream board now. And I told him, and we've been having this discussion about my prosperity consciousness, because I said several times, one of my goals is to be a multi-billionaire. And he challenged me and said, why haven't you made it? And I said, I honestly don't know if I really want that anymore. My life I'm at such a different point in my life that I give you an example. I mean, just yesterday, I have to send an email because I'm coaching a team. We have we're doing now a Thursday night under the lights softball league, and they didn't have enough coaches. And so I said I'd be a coach. And so now I've got 15 people on my roster, and I have to email them out and send them the schedule. And what happens is, if one of those 15 people knows somebody in their family in our space, they say, you have Randy Gage's email? There are people that will pay $10,000 to get my email. That's just a reality. And I'm not even close to being a billionaire. There are people who would pay $25,000 to have my private email address, because they think, hey, if I just can get one message to this guy and get in front of him for, I will be able to get him to come invest in my company or buy my company or endorse my nonprofit, my charity, whatever. And if I could, it's worth rolling the dice for 25 grand if I could just get a meeting with that guy. And so I say, if this is what the private, and you know how many stalkers I've had that literally show up at my house and go to security and tell them they're my wife and demand to be led into the condo, and just cray shit.
Yeah.
And I just, so I don't even. So, I'm at the point, the horizon in front of me is much closer than the horizon behind me. And I'm saying, I don't know that I need to be or want to be a billionaire. I do have a comfortable lifestyle. I don't want to retire. I tried that. That's not my thing. My work is important to me. I believe that my work should continue. I believe when I'm gone, whenever that is, my tombstone won't really say he never sold anybody a worthless shitcoin. I believe the legacy, I hope, is, wow, he really made a positive, empowering difference in the lives of millions of people. So I don't want to shut down. I don't want to become a recluse and go hide out on an island somewhere. But sometimes I want to be a recluse and go hide out on an island somewhere. And my privacy is important to me. I'm more of a loner anyway. The spotlight of being a billionaire just comes like this house, which, by the way, it looks like it's not even Naveen's house. It's like a rent. I guess he rented it. It seemed, because it was the site. The thing that Art sent me was you could rent it out. So I'm thinking, well, this would be a good, house to rent for a team retreat one weekend, right? But if you look at
which is a very, very good idea for our Prodigy Council someday, but let's speak about later.
That is very true. Very true. Good idea. Yeah, and but the truth is that house has to cost $200,000 a month to maintain. I would guess. This is just based on what I spend in my homes for housekeeping and landscaping and the pool boy and the electricity and the taxes or whatever. I look at that, 4-level house with swimming pool and billiard room and bowling alley and, movie theater and whatever the hell is in there. And I'd say, I need a staff of 20 people, and I don't want to live in a house where I have 20 employees interacting with me. I think I'd be happier with this nice house, like I'm thinking about putting on my new dream board, that maybe I could have there's an apartment in the bottom where the housekeeper could live, and but I still would have my privacy, which is so important to me. And I still could go play softball. I still can go to the movies. I still can go out to dinner. People think being famous is so great if they only experience a little bit of it, like I do, where you're in a restaurant eating a meal and there's 8 people lined up who want you to just get up and take a picture with them. When they see you literally with someone in a private conversation eating, and they have no compunction at all about, they follow you into the bathroom. You come out of the bathroom and there's 40 people waiting or 60 people waiting. The big events, I need such a level of security and it's right in my rider. They have to understand, no, there has to be a private bathroom in the green room. Randy can't go out in the stadium where there's 10,000 people and go to the bathroom. You don't understand. He'll never make it back for his next thing, right? So this is a really long roundabout saying is, I even myself, I grapple with this question of, okay, is there a number where I change my lifestyle? And the place I've come to is, no, I don't believe that number bullshit anymore. I believe if you don't make time for the stuff that's important now, you never will. And so what is the kind of thing in my life? And so when we bring up these people who are endorsing these deals and whatever, like I say, I don't like to count other people's money, but it's not like these are people who are selling their furniture to pay the rent. They've reached a high enough level of success, I believe. I don't know, maybe it's bullshit and it's all front and they really are 10 minutes away from bankruptcy. I don't know, but doesn't seem to me. So why would they pour out their names like that? It's just,
I really think there is a psychological process where at the beginning you start something really naive, not knowing that that's wrong. And then when you already started there, because you invested your name there, you want to convince yourself. And so every time you watch something about how this could be a scam, you find a way to say this is not true. And every time you find something that says that this is legit, you try to say, you see, I knew this was legit, this confirmation bias. The more you invest yourself on that, the more you try to convince. I don't know. But anyway, going back to the prosperity stuff you were talking about, which I think is very important, I want to push back a little with you because I totally agree with you. I mean, I'm the first that right now says, for the first time, I understand why freedom is more important than money in network marketing. And this is something I can say now because I have the freedom. But I'm not sure I would be where I am if I knew what I know from the beginning. Because at the beginning of my career, I really wanted the money. I really wanted the millions. I strived and I fought and I traveled so much and I sacrificed so much because I really wanted the money. And then when I needed the freedom, I had it because I had this first struggle. So now when I listen to you, I understand where you're coming from because you have that status. But I'm not sure you would be there if you wouldn't have that first desire to being a billionaire. And right now, what worries me the most is that if you lose that, you can fall in another trap, which is losing all that capability you have to helping so much people. Because, you know, you can help a lot of people just giving them money, but we know that when you get money for the value you add, that's where you can actually thrive and you can actually help more people in depth. So if you get all those billions, it's because you are helping millions of people to improve their lives, and that's amazing. And I think you shouldn't lose that. You could change the way of doing it. There are many billionaires that no one knows their names. I mean, not everyone is billionaire because they are famous. And I think you shouldn't lose that. You deserve that house, and we deserve to have your value for many more years.
Well, you'd be happy to know you're supporting Art's argument, which was, that's one of the things he said was, hey, there's lots of people who are billionaires and they don't have all those privacy security issues. I'm not so sure that's true. Is what I've learned, one of the someday I'm going to, that I will plead guilty to, is I have said, one day I'm going to write a book about what to do when you become wealthy, how you have to change, because you realize, okay, now that I'm buying really elegant shirts and they have pearl buttons, which this one does not, but I have had some that do. And you realize if you just send it to any dry cleaner, they're just going to smash up the buttons. You could buy a beautiful bespoke suit, but they'll destroy it with the way. So you learn, okay, there's maybe every city the size of Miami, which is 2 million people, has maybe one dry cleaner who knows how to hand press and take care of fine clothes. You can go buy $1 million McLaren, but if you take it to the average hand car wash, they're going to ruin it the first time they wash it. You're going to take their filthy sponges with the dirty water and they're going to put it on your car and swirl them around, and they're going to create all these swirl marks in your paint, right? Like even when I buy a car, I order it, I have it delivered to the dealership, and I tell them, you are not allowed to wash this car to get it ready for me. I want, when I come to pick up my car, I want the plastic wrap still surrounding the car, because then I'm going to take it to my detail guy who knows how to, right? So the point of the book is, hey, there's all these things you got to learn when you're money, when you start to get rich. And one of them is you're going to get wedding invitations from the bag boy at the supermarket, from 27 generation removed cousins, from the paper boy you had 20 years ago in your old neighborhood, because they're saying, wow, Jaime's worth $1 billion now. Let's invite him to the wedding. He probably won't come, but he might buy us that toaster oven on the registry list or whatever. Right there's, and then every relative you have says, oh, Jaime, I have an idea. We're going to do bus bench advertising in Bosnia. And if you would just give me $2 million and stake my startup, I will have the best bus bench advertising company in Bosnia Herzegovina, because I've identified that as a market. Or, Jaime, you have so much money, you don't need it. I am starting a home for unwed llamas. And this is a very serious problem in the world. There are llamas without husbands who are giving birth, and I'm going to start a shelter for unwed llamas, and I just need $20 million from you to start it off. And, you know, aren't you a good Christian, or aren't you a good Jew? Or I thought you cared about the world and you don't need that money. And, you know, everybody has their way. Like I say, I don't count other people's money. Most people count other people's money and then want to tell them how to do it. And you cannot become a billionaire in secret. You just can't. That would be the pushback I would give to the pushback from you and Art is.
But there's a huge difference. There's a huge difference between being a billionaire in absolute secret. Of course, your family and your friends will know. But what happens with you now is that you are a famous person. So you have your books and you do these conferences with thousands and thousands of people. And every time you do consultants for a company, you're the rock star from all those companies with hundreds of thousands of people. So that fame is the one that you can avoid. And the other one, I mean, it's true, you will have to handle a couple of cousins that want your money. But I mean, compared to how many lives you can help and how many value you can add to the world, you can handle that, my friend.
Yeah, well, that's just, and again, I'm not arguing against you and Art, because I'm still thinking this through. I have, as I showed with Peter, I have the new board for building my next generation of my dream board, vision board, prosperity map, whatever you want to call it. And I'm trying to be really mindful about where do I want to go with that. Because the privacy is really, really important to me. And security is an issue. You know, I have loved ones, and so I have to worry about my loved ones. And I'm just thinking about this a lot because, let me see if I have it here. I do, because it isn't in the safe deposit box. This is the last will and testament of Randy Gage, which I just updated last week. And, you know, found the organizations. I needed to update it. My brother passed away recently. The one I'd written before was very old, very outdated. I said, okay, I need to update the will. And so I got to pick, you know, the causes and organizations and people that are near and dear to my heart. And, you know, what is the legacy that I could leave for them to, you know, that they could continue their work after I'm gone, right? And so I'm looking at all of that. And I think, I had no idea we were going to go down this route, and that's why these chopping it ups are so amazing. You never know where they're going to go. And I hope the people who later watch or listen to this get to reflect on that themselves. Like, what, you know, at some point, I believe if you're moving toward that highest possible version of yourself, you make the jump from seeking success to seeking significance. And then it's not about the watches and the cars and the ski lodges and the magazine covers and the hits, you know, the number of likes on your Instagram account. It's about, you know, that poem, which always gets credited to Ralph Waldo Emerson, but really was written by a lady in 1906 for a newspaper contest about what success is: to laugh often and much, to win the respect of intelligent people and the affection of children, to know that the world was a bit better because you were here, whether it's a garden patch, a child, a redeemed social condition, right? That's what starts to matter in your life. Like, okay, will it matter that I was here for this microscopic moment in the space-time continuum? And I just remember I was, that's part of the problem with like the GaryVee hustle mentality. It's all hustle, hustle, hustle. And, as Seth Godin likes to say, hustle is for hustlers. There's a difference between being passionate to get something and then just, the hustlers are the people who send out 100 spam on LinkedIn every morning. Hi, Randy, I noticed you're in the consultant space. I happen to have a company, and they cold mail 100 of those every day to people. And it's so fucking irritating to be on the recipient of those things, and then people who come out of the woodwork after 15, just checking in. How are you doing? Okay, I'm fine. Well, I'm glad you are, because I just so happen I found this new MLM that, you know what I mean? It's just so transparent and so, awkward. I don't even know where I was going with this. I'm just lost my thought. But, you just, you start to recognize like what matters. And for me, so I was the hustler type, right? I read all those books like, yeah, you got to hustle, you got to grind, you got to, and so I got to be a billionaire. I got to be, Mark Cuban is there. Elon Musk is there. Bezos, I got to be the next billionaire. And then I was actually in the Sheraton Hotel in Moscow. That's where I always liked to stay when I went there. And because they have it's a perfect location, and they have a 2-story concierge lounge. I just remember it. And there's like 2 levels. And so I was up in the upper level, and I was having my granola and my, herbal tea, and they had CNN International on the TV. And there was a famine in Africa. And there was this report of they followed this mother who was migrating to try to get to a refugee camp. And she had 2 young children, one of whom died on the way to the refugee camp. And I'm there starting my day. I've done my self-development. I've done my cardio. I'm all positive to go in my day because I'm going to have couple thousand people in an auditorium in an hour from now that I need to inspire into action. And I'm watching this story of this mother who stops to bury one of her children, to get the second one, hopefully, to the refugee camp. And I just thought, and I'm worried about being a fucking billionaire, so. And then my next thought was, which should make you happy and Art happy, was, well, I think I want to be a billionaire, so at least just for a day, so I can say I made it. But then if I could give that money away to causes like that would help this mother who was, didn't have drinking water and food for her children, that's the other side of the coin that you have to balance in, even as MLMers, as whether you're talking about getting to your $10,000 a month rank or getting to diamond director rank or whatever it is. We can't get lost in the pursuit of the title or the money. And that's where we all start. That's where we started the discussion. Why are these people whoring out their names for this shit? Is it just because they're chasing a number or a title or a status that they can post on their Instagram or Facebook page? I don't know. Or can you focus on the part of the people that you're able to help by what you do? That's the real part of the equation.
But I think, especially because we are in network marketing, it goes much deeper, because I deeply believe that all those scary stories about all these mothers that really what they do day to day, it's not to have a new dress, it's to save their lives' kids. It's something that you find less and less every time on countries which have free market, on countries which have democracy, on countries that have all those things that we actually teach and develop on our teams. So for me, I sometimes I sound too romantic when I speak about this, and maybe I sound naive, but I really believe that because we are the most amazing, how do you say this? I'm sorry for my English,
Tell me
but
in Spanish.
la mejor forma de capitalismo, like
The best form of capitalism.
yes, because we are actually teaching people all these values of meritocracy and going out of your comfort zone, and you don't need to be afraid of money. All these messages that we are teaching millions of people are the basis of the kind of countries and governments that actually move away from those problems you are mentioning. And that's why you have countries where poverty is so low and the really poor people have food every day and have a TV and have a car, which is amazing. And you have other countries that decided to follow another path and want to still be on socialism or want to be on dictatorships. And of course, they have
Venezuela.
Like Venezuela. Right now, Argentina is a mess. I'm really afraid of what I'm listening because I'm living right next to Argentina and Uruguay. And it's really scary what's happening there.
Yeah.
So I think all the consciousness that we are trying to bring, it's not just us in network marketing. There are many people trying to teach on entrepreneurship and all this personal development. But in network marketing, we're a whole movement of people doing it. It's not just one very famous GaryVee, or it's not just one very famous, I don't know, Tony Robbins. It's a huge movement of people teaching people how to teach people on prosperity. And that's something amazing. It's much more than the compensation plan.
So for people who are first timers who don't know the format, I never interview anyone. I get a partner each week and we just riff back and forth. They jot down 4 or 5 things they want to talk to me about. I jot down 4 or 5 things I want to talk to them about. And one of the things I had to talk to you about was the experience you had when your son was born that made you really understand what freedom meant. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, that's the moment I was talking about when I changed the way I see the real benefit of network marketing. Because when my son was born, I don't know how it works in any other country in the world, but in my mind, because of the movies, I thought that they take your son and they take it to another crib somewhere where there is a nurse taking care of him. But the moment they take it out, they put it in my arms like this. And I'm first time dad, I never had a son, so I don't know what to do with this ball of meat in my hands. I'm scared to death with that. And I'm in the same room with my wife. She's laying down and I'm in a sofa on the side. So I'm just sitting there with the baby and I fall asleep. So after I fall asleep, I don't know, maybe 1 hour passed, and suddenly I start listening to people running back and forth. So I wake up with the baby in hands, and there are like 7 nurses with 2 doctors running into the room, and they are checking my wife, and I'm there with the baby, So they take her out of the room, they go away, and one nurse remembers that I'm there, so she comes back and she explains me that my wife was about to die. She was really, really close to dying because they didn't notice that there was something there that they couldn't remove. So she was losing a lot of blood too fast. So in 15 minutes that they went away and go back, she lost too much blood and her pressure was the lowest possible. So she needed to remove what was in there, and they needed to put her a lot of blood. So at that moment, it was 3 a.m. I'm with the baby like this, so afraid that I was gonna lose my wife, and this is the first time I'm a dad. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to do this. So it was really a shock for me, and I didn't show it because I needed to be the strong guy in the room. I needed to be taking care of her and the boy for the first weeks. So apparently, I was very strong after that, but deep down, I was very afraid, very scared. I don't remember being so scared in my life. So I talked to the team in network marketing, to my team, and I told them, you know what? I can't be with you. I need to go with my family. I need to be with them. I really felt I was losing them, so I need to be with them. And I don't know when I'm going back. I mean, you need to solve your stuff by yourselves. I'm not going to answer WhatsApp. I'm not going to be on the events. I need a break. And maybe I will come back, maybe I won't. So I was 3 months away from the team, and then I came back. And it was amazing because the team, they kept working and the check kept coming to my account. And actually, I think my check grew on those 3 months. And that's the first time in my life that I said, yes, I thought I wanted the money, but what I really want is the freedom. What I really want is this capability of saying, you know what, I want a vacation. I want to stop working for 3 months or 6 months or 12 months. And that changed also the way I started working from then and into the future. Because right now, for example, I try to do only things that I know that in the future could give me that freedom. And that's something I didn't thought about in the past. In the past, if it would give me twice the money I'm earning now, I would do it. And if another client would come and say, hey, you're going to earn more money, I would do it. And right now, no. Right now, I deeply think that freedom is more important. And I don't think people give it enough credit in what we do. Actually, I know you did the same. You took a sabbatical. You don't know this, but sabbatical can be 2 years. 1 year is the maximum that allowed by the Bible for your sabbatical. But you did the same.
Yeah, and that was the testament to freedom, because I was the highest level rank at the company. There was only 1 or 2 people who had ever achieved that same rank. And this was when the company was going through some real turmoil. And this was leading up to the time where it got sold, because there was a big scandal with the founder. There were a lot of, it seemed to be, he was doing some shady deals in Asia when some of those markets were open. It was so the investors who had staked the company said, we're not putting any more money in. Whatever you got is what you got. And so they had someone who was looking at buying the company. They brought in a very famous venture capital company, and they came in and they invited me to dinner, and they wanted to know what I saw in the field. And, they were asking me all these questions. And then what I realized after the fact, that the whole point of the dinner was they just wanted to know, if they bought this company, was I going to stay? It was all just kind of a smokescreen. because they were going to spend many, many, many millions of dollars to buy this. And I was the top income earner and they won. So in the course of this dinner, they explained to me some of this stuff, that they had done a forensic accounting. And the forensic accounting had come up with these serious irregularities in this CEO in doing deals in Asia, and which you and I kind of knew superficially, because they had this line from Thailand, which had this cooked leg, and everybody in there had cooked legs, and they were all these sweetheart deals. And we like, something is shady. This is some shady shit here, but we just concentrated on our own networks, our own things, whatever. And so, but this was, and then they ended up firing that CEO. And then Jeremiah and Jeff took over, and they just did this incredible job of trying to rescue the company. And, they did amazing, amazing work. But there was a point where I said, I don't think I can get on a stage right now and tell people you should sign this application. So I don't think I can do that. I believe in the people, but I don't think I could do that. And that was the same point where I had my other existential crisis about wealth, when I discovered these couple of watches that I had behind my ball caps, where I went and I had a couple of like $100,000 worth of, like two watches. One was worth 80 or 90,000. One was worth 25,000 or something. And I had never worn them because I had forgot I bought them. And then I discovered them, and I'm like, is this make any sense? Do I own these things, or do these things own me? And the moon was in the 7th house, and Jupiter aligned with Mars. And at that moment, I got a letter from a real estate guy, and he represented a sheik from Dubai who was looking for a condo in South Beach. And he made me a stupid money offer, and I took the money and said, okay, I'm going to go travel the world. And I'm going to just work on self-development and personal growth. I'm going to spend 3, 4, 5 hours a day listening to podcasts, reading books, exercising. I studied all the major religions of the world. I studied schools of philosophy. I studied just all kind of esoteric things to really, that was kind of my secret unspoken desire or unthought desires. I just wanted to be a polymath. I wanted to be a Renaissance man. I wanted to know about the great schools of thought in the world and the great thinkers. And because me, my hobby is trying to solve unsolvable. There's certain math equations or whatever. They say, okay, these are the 7 unsolvable problems, and so I like to try to solve them. That's what I do instead of doing crossword puzzles, right? So I did that, and the lesson I got from that was it showed me the value of not sucking. And for every leader in our space, you're going to reach this point where you're going to say, okay, do I want to be the guy going across the stage, getting the pin, the bouquet of flowers, the highest rank in the world, the adulation of 10,000 screaming, fanatical MLM distributors, because no audience in the world is better than MLM distributors. They are the most enthusiastic, passionate, excitable, screaming, hanging from the chandeliers audience you will ever experience. Do I want to experience that adulation, or is it more important for me to get my people to experience that adulation? The question you ultimately get to as any leader is, am I sucking all of the oxygen out of the room? And in my case, I worked really hard against that. And I worked really hard to develop. And I believe I put together what has to be one of the greatest leadership teams in the history of network marketing. And I'm happy and honored and proud to say that one of the members of that leadership team is you, because you were one of them. And I could just take off and say, okay, I'm shutting down my YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, my blog. I'll come to the convention, but I will not be in the field. I will not be building. I'm not going to be sponsoring people, because it would be unethical to sponsor someone if I wasn't going to be there to help them get started and, found their career. So I'm not going to sponsor anybody while I'm on this sabbatical. And during that, the month before I came back, I reached the highest rank ever, which no one in the world had ever achieved. And I remember when, I was on the advisory board when we were modifying the compensation plan, and we created that rank, and we called it the freak of nature rank. That this is the rank that maybe nobody will ever get, but we have to have that carrot out there so that people who get to the top of the comp plan won't just say, okay, I've reached the top of the comp plan. There's nowhere else I can go. I'm just going to drink out of a coconut. And that's the rank I hit. And when I wasn't there, when I wasn't building, and that's the magic. That's when okay, this duplication thing isn't bullshit. This leverage thing, this is the superpower for creating wealth. But it only works if you're not going to make it about you. If you have to be the one who always gets the convention keynote, if you have to be the one who always does the training, if you have to be the one who's always going to be featured on the cover of the company magazine and on the homepage of the website and leading all the social media channels and whatever, great, you can drink your own bathwater and grow your ego every day until you're a megalomaniacal narcissist, but you'll never have freedom because you will never be able to step out of the room. And so as you found with the danger zone with your wife, and I found with just, hey, I want to go out and rethink my life, that's, it's funny. I don't know that we ever consciously talked about it, but isn't it fascinating that we chose the name duplicationnation.com when it all goes back to that duplication, because that's the part, like for people who saw the show I did with Ivan Cisco, when he called me that one time and said, is duplication even real? I think there's millions of people who have been in Ivan's situation and said and wondered that, is duplication real? Is this really doable? Or is this just some bullshit they tell us from the stage to keep us grinding away in the factory? And that the freedom is the payoff.
Yeah, and you know what? Of course, that many times you don't get that freedom because you don't want to let go the fame. You want to be the rock star. You want to be the one that everyone invites to every important event. But I found out that many other times it's not because being afraid of losing all these lights, but because you don't really trust on the people you have on your team. So you want to give them the spotlight. You want to make them the ones on stage. But every time you let them do something, you're afraid that they are not doing it perfect, or that you could do it better, or that everything will fall apart because you are not the one doing it. So many times it's about controlling the team or controlling the results more than trying to be a star. And that's equally dangerous because your intentions are very good, but you will never have, your kids will never grow up if you don't let them hit their knees. How do you say? Scrape their knees?
In their knees, scrape their knees, yeah.
Exactly. So you need to understand that perfection will never help you in the process for duplication. You need to let them do the things wrong. You won't let them kill their team, but you need to let them fly solo and let them actually try to do it by themselves. Otherwise, you will always be a slave of your team. And I think that's why so many people think that duplication is impossible, and so many people think that freedom is impossible, because I understand them. When it's so hard to build something, you don't want to risk it. I mean, at the beginning, for all of us, the start was really painful. We had to work our jobs until 7, and then from 7 we had to work our network marketing company until 1 in the morning, and then on the lunch breaks, instead of going to lunch, we had to make calls to bring prospects to the presentation at night. So we sacrifice so much for this team to actually start having momentum, that when we achieve it, we are not willing to risk it. So that's why we want to have control over it. But it's like with kids. You need to do it. There's no other way if you actually value the freedom that can come with it.
So I have this gift / curse of being on the autism spectrum. So people, there's a lot of upside to that, but there's this crazy downside. You're so analytical, logical, rational, totally in you. That's like the therapist would talk about being totally in your head. Like, you sent me the simplest email this morning that you didn't even think anything about, right? You sent me an email and you said, "Oh, sorry, I thought I sent this when we talked about it 5 days ago, but it was still in my draft folder." And I had to laugh, because if you're on the spectrum, you can't go to sleep at night if there's an item in your draft folder. Because every time you go to your email, if there's a one with the circle in the draft thing, you're like, whoa, oh my God, there's a draft I didn't finish. I cannot go to bed tonight, right? It's so crazy. So this issue you're raising about, hey, can they do it as well as you do? This is the kind of thing I lie awake at night and debate for 11 hours until it's the next morning and I haven't slept. And so for me, being the alien / robot / crazy guy that I am, I quantify it. So for me, the magical, mystical number is 85%. So what that means is, I know, let's say I have, let's say there's 30 candidates in the room. I'm at the Marriott Hotel in Cincinnati, Ohio, and I've got a new team developing there, and there's 247 people in the audience, and 30 of them are candidates. I'm the guest speaker, I'm coming in, and I'm the guy with the clicker who's making the presentation. I'm going to know there's 30 candidates in the audience, and I'm going to deliver a presentation that is going to sign 30 out of 30 to sign up. Because I'm going to be so compelling, I'm going to handle every fucking possible objection they could ever think of. I'm going to prosecute the case for how amazing direct selling is. I'm going to paint such a luscious, delicious, orgasmic picture of what leverage can do, and the freedom and the benefits. And I believe it with every fiber of my body. And I'm going to use all of the skills I've developed in persuasion and platform presentation skills and everything. And 30 out of 30 are going to sign up. What I have to recognize is that if I have somebody on my team who can get 85% of the 30 to sign up instead of the 100%, then I need to let the 85% person, they need to be doing that presentation. So what that means is, so that would be 85%, 8.5. So it would be one. So
25 people instead of 30.
Right. Okay. So you say, well, wait, but those extra 5 people, and then if they get 5, and then the 25 get 5, and you could play that game out all the way through to eventually those 5 people might produce an extra 300,000 points a month. And no, you can't think that way, because you have to be willing to give up those 5 people, because knowing that that leader, which you now have liberated, will actually end up producing 30,000 more people eventually. And when they replicate the process, they model the behavior and they let off the gas when they get to somebody at the 85% level and they turn them loose, then this is where the real breakthroughs live. And so for, again, it's a blessing and it's a curse, but like, after God knows how much analyzing I do, that's where I came to is, hey, if somebody, it doesn't, when who's going to host the Facebook Live this week? Okay, should it be me, or do I have someone who could do 85% of what I do? Hey, who's going to run the train? Who's going to do the training session on how to meet people? Okay, should it be me because I do it the best, or do I have someone who could do it at 85% of my capacity? Because one of the first principles I have for building my business is never do anything for a team member that they're capable of doing themselves. And so if I take it out to, if I keep expanding out from that first principle, that's where I end up. Like if you will, because we real top leaders, we get to points where we really are. We can do the best training. We can make the best opportunity presentations. We can make the blah, 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 blah. But at some point you say, okay, I'm sucking all the oxygen out of the room. And the people who could become my lead, the people who could, why I had the success of my sabbatical is another first principle for me is my job is to work myself out of a job. And you have to get your ego out of the way to do that. You have to be willing to forego some of those standing ovations and the adulation and the admiration and the fun parts of that. And, but that's where that's how you create true duplication. You got to be willing to let off the gas pedal and let someone else drive the Lamborghini.
and sometimes you can be amazed of how good they can become if you are not doing it for them, because our guess is that they could do it 85% or 90% or 2%, but we actually don't know because we never saw them do it. I remember when I started the business, I started almost at the same time as my sponsor, which they are amazing friends, Daphne and Alberto. They were starting network marketing for the first time in their lives. And their upline was starting network marketing, and their upline were starting network marketing. And all that upline was living in Israel. We were living in Mexico. So we didn't have anyone to support us. And we did everything wrong. Everything. We said every name, we said it wrong. And when we tried to do all the circles on the whiteboard, we did everything wrong. And we broke every record in network marketing in Mexico, doing everything wrong. I mean,
you guys killed it. You guys killed it. And Alberto and Daphne, people have to hear Alberto's story. He thought when they called him up to tell him about MLM, he thought they said M&Ms.
It was a business of chocolate.
Yeah, M&Ms. Oh, it's something to do with M&Ms. So I had to get that in. Continue with your story, please.
I mean, what I was saying is that if we had someone amazing doing the stuff for us, or someone trying to find out if we were able to do it 85% as good as them, they would never let us do anything because we would do it 8% good as they. But we didn't have any other option. The moment we signed our first prospect, that's the moment we said, we're screwed. We need to find a way to do this because now someone trusted us and now we can't just leave them. So we need to find a way to move this forward. So sometimes, even if they are not 85% as you, if they have the hunger, if they have the desire, when you leave them, they will find a way.
Well, actually, believe it or not, we both agree exactly on this, but there's a mathematical interaction you're not taking into account. It's still 85%, but it's just the guy at the 30th level is only operating at 85% of the guy of the 29th level. But the guy at the 29th level is actually only 11% of the guy at the top. But the 29th level is operating at the 85% of the 28th level. And then it goes down. So because it's just like you say, when the person on whatever the latest new level is, if they're the 111th level, they might literally be operating at 2% or 1% of the proficiency level of the guy or the gal at the top of the genealogy. But it's based on, all those levels going through. Because you have to grow into it. Because that guy or gal at the top who is killing it and can literally perform at the 100% level, they started one day at the 2% level. There are people who, they go to a garage sale and they find some Randy Gage DVD program for sale for 29 cents and they buy it, and then they take a screen capture, or they send me hey Gage, look at what I found. I bought this for 32 cents on eBay, or I found it at a garage sale, and watch it. And I watch that clip and I say, oh my God, how stupid I was, how ignorant I was. But that's the game, is you have to be willing. I believe you can't get better and look good at the same time. If you want to learn how to ride a bike, you got to be willing to fall over a few times. If you want to learn how to hit a fastball, you got to be willing to swing and miss the first times you try. If you want to climb a mountain, if you want to write an opera, if you want to build a team of 50,000 people, it's still the same principle. You can't get better and look good at the same time. And our job is to let go of the reins enough to let people develop and get better. And that was one of the other things I have that I wanted to chat to you about. You wrote a book, which unfortunately is not available in este momento in inglés, because I am actually the proofreader in charge of the translation right now. And I'm working on that so that you can put it out there to the English speaking world. But so it's in Spanish right now. The book is called Leaders Die, but Movements Don't. And when you sent me the first draft of that, I just knew this was mad genius, because you are able to quantify the movement aspect of our business, which I think people forget about, in that we get so enamored with tactics. Oh, here's how I get a candidate's phone number. oh, here's how here's how I overcome the objection of when they say I don't have enough time. So we get with the tactics and we forget at the ultimate level, this is about creating a movement, creating something bigger than ourselves that people want to be a part of. So you set out to write this book and you looked at cults and religions and your own experience and direct selling. And it's a book it's not even a direct selling book. It's just a leadership book, but everyone in direct selling should read it. Can you share some of your philosophy and, what made you decide to write that book? What did you learn when you wrote it? Just anything, riff where you would go with that.
Thanks, my friend. Actually, I was obsessed with leadership since I was 18. I studied leadership in Jerusalem. It was a very important topic for me because I used to work in nonprofit organizations and I used to be director at nonprofit organizations, and they teach you leadership there because that's the only way you can bring people to help when you don't have a salary. You don't pay them, so you need them to want to be there. So that's where I started on this path of leadership. And when I came into network marketing, wow, that was amazing for me because that was the first time I saw someone really earning money from doing this kind of leadership, of bringing, as you say, a team of an army of volunteers.
All volunteer army.
Exactly. So this is what you do on nonprofits, but on nonprofits you don't earn money, and here there was a chance to actually make a lot of money doing this. And the part I always had very clear is that when you do it right, people get very passionate about a message. And I didn't have so clear how you do it, but I knew that was the fact. When you have people very passionate about Greenpeace and about saving the planet, that's when you have the real movement that will endure over time, even if you leave that movement. That means Greenpeace is the only movement to save the planet? Of course not, but it's the one that made everyone very passionate about their mission. And when I joined network marketing, I saw the same. There were teams that used to have all their t-shirts where they used to go out to the street, to their lives, with a shirt saying, I'm this company and I love it, or I love this company. And that's something that was so strange for me because I would never want to do that. But they used to take their company and made it really part of their lives. So I wanted to explore more on this, on how you can actually do this on demand, because I was sure that if we could be able to do it on demand, you could build really strong teams and companies. So what I found out is that it has to be with the identity of the people. What makes them so passionate about it is that it starts to be a very relevant part of their identity. You stop saying, I like Greenpeace. You start saying, I am Greenpeace. You stop saying, I like Herbalife. You start saying, I am Herbalife, which is something that I don't know if you did it on purpose or it was just by mistake. But I remember that when we were in Agile, you went on stage and you said, I am Agile at the end of one session. And from there, everyone started saying, I am Agile after every event. Do you remember? I know you remember that. But it was on purpose?
Here's the story, behind the scenes story, that never revealed footage. So we had a 3-day convention, early days of Agile, and Agile made the mistake that most new companies do. They set up a convention and they said, okay, we're going to have all of the vice presidents do a keynote speech. We're going to have the vice president of sales. We're going to have the vice president of marketing. We're going to have the CFO. We're going to have the COO. We're going to have the CEO. We're going to have the the fucking IT director, the fucking human resource director. They just, so the first day of the convention is just corporate people talking at the distributors. And the leaders, I remember sitting in the next to Eric, and we're saying, we're going to have to talk. We're going to have to stage an intervention with the company tonight and tell them they can't have all these fucking people speaking at the convention because they don't know what happens in the field. It's great that we have an amazing chief financial officer, but there's nothing he needs to say at the convention to be a chief financial officer and be amazing. But it was like a political turf thing. If Julio gets 45 minutes, then Mary should get 45 minutes. Then, and I shouldn't say Mary, because of course, it's a Utah company, so every executive was a middle-aged white guy. So here I've got my team there, and I have people from Asia, and I have Jews and Muslims and gay people and women and people of Black and Asian, everything. And here's a bunch of middle-aged white corporate guys, and they all want to be motivational speakers. Every company executive, secretly in their bones, their greatest dream is to be a motivational speaker, because they've been running conventions for their whole career, and they always hire motivational speakers to come in. So then when they get the chance, they say, let me tell you the story about the mama eagle. When the mama eagle has the baby eagles in the nest, she pushes them out and they have to learn to fly. And then if they don't, she swoops down and picks them up and puts them back in the nest. And they, and Roger Bannister, nobody had ever run a 4-minute mile. And, the starfish on the beach story. So they've heard every corny, cliche story since Zig Ziglar in 1970. And they repeat all these stories that every distributor in the audience has heard 10,000 times. There's no connection there or whatever. So we say, we got to have it, they got to have field leaders on the stage. So then part 2, day 2, they had more of a mix. And then they even had like outside vendors speaking who worked on the products. And they had other stuff that was really a questionable thing. And then the third day was going to be, which is like a half day, the last, 9 to 12 on Sunday or something. Then they were allowing the field leaders to speak on the stage. So on day 2, they have a new guy who's in charge of social media and communications. So of course they give him a keynote speech at the convention because everybody gets a keynote. And he does this really, well-meaning talk, but he says, what you have to do is you have to become agile. You can't just be a distributor of agile. You have to become agile. So it courses through your veins. And, again, this is a kind of a trope or a cliche that many, not just network marketing companies. I mean, you'll find that at Nike, you'll find that at Apple, you'll find that at SpaceX, where they get a tattoo of Harley Davidson on their arm, right? I mean, that's the kind of identity that they have. So he was like speaking at the audience, to tell them that's what they needed to do if they wanted to be successful. Now, that obviously wasn't very successful because people don't like to be talked at and told what to do. But I'm just processing it, and I'm the opening keynote on Sunday morning. So I come up with this idea. So I give my speech, and at the end of the speech, I say, thank you for participating. Blah, blah, blah. My name is Randy Gage, and I am agile. Oh my God, the people went crazy. So Worry is speaking after me. He does his session. And at the end of his session, he says, my name is Eric Worry, and I am agile. After him comes Schrader. He does his speech and he says, my name is Randy Schrader, and I am agile. And then Glenn Jensen was the CEO. He was the closing of the event. And at the end of his speech, he said, and my name is Glenn Jensen, and I am agile. This started a movement. That's what your book is about, creating a movement, a meme-plex, a memetic complex, right? So what happened is, every single agile event ever, every speaker at the end of their speech said, my name is so-and-so, and I am agile. So even when they did testimonials, so people would be on stage, they would have a 30-second testimonial. Hi, I'm Jim Smith. I'm a long haul truck driver. And, I make a lot of money with my job, but the problem is I'm away from my friends and family. So I joined Agile because I want to spend more time with kids. My name is Jim Smith, and I am agile. So you'd go to an event, literally every single person on a stage, on a Zoom, on a whatever, would say, I am agile. So fast forward, who's Luca Maloney and Eric Gamio and all of the people in Fusion down in Latin America are watching Randy Gage videos, because we all spy on every other company. So they start saying, soy Erigamio, what would you say? Soy Erigamio? How would you say I am? Just soy fusion? Soy fusion. So they started doing soy fusion. And Glenn Jensen came back and told me, he said, Randy, I just went to the DSA event. They had this leadership roundtable where just the CEOs, there was like 15 CEOs. And the guy says, I'm so-and-so, I'm the president of Herbalife USA. I'm so-and-so, I'm the, CEO of New Skin. And it comes to, I don't remember, I think it was Doug DeVos. So it goes to him and he says, my name is Doug DeVos, and I am agile. Everybody in there was like, what? And everybody laughs, and Glenn looks at him quizzically, and and DeVos says, hopefully I've got the right guy, I think it was DeVos. He says, I came to this roundtable today because I want to know what that guy, and he points to Glenn. He says, I want to know what that guy did so that every person on his team says, I am agile. And now I could tell you at least 10 companies that I know of, at least 10 major big companies with hundreds of thousands of distributors say something like that at the end of their presentations. And it's just a testament to the power of mind viruses, to whether it's Just Do It from Nike, or Where's the Beef from Wendy's, or Yes We Can from Barack Obama. The power of a phrase to create an identity, to fuel a movement. And it was just a lark idea I had listening to this social media guy who was kind of preaching at my people. And I thought, how can I convey this message in a more elegant way to create the kind of outcome that because he had the right idea. I mean, that's what you're looking for when you're leading a team, is you want to build that shared identity, that commonality. So that's how I Am Agile came about. It's and started a movement that literal, it's not it's not an overstatement to say that millions of people have continued that mind virus circulating around the world. But this is, you know, that's what your book is all about. I mean, you looked at, like you did the stuff that people are afraid to look at, because you looked at cults, said, okay, well, you know, what's the difference? Because how many times has network marketing been called a cult? And you looked at this and said, hey, let's break it down. How do cults work? What was I think it was a Jewish humanitarian organization you were a volunteer with, that you, one of the examples you used in the book, I think.
I was with many, but the one I mentioned in the book is a youth movement where you teach values to the kids. So you have kids from 5 years old until 20, which they are not so kids anymore. And you meet with them once a week, every Saturday, like the Boy Scouts. But instead of teaching them about going to the woods and all those stuff that the Scouts do so well, we only have this other part that the Scouts also have about values. And it was a very important part of my life, because for me, the most important thing in my life when I was young was this movement. And I really felt it was part of me, and that it was my mission to actually help every kid in the world to have these values. And instead of only going to the shopping mall every weekend, to actually go and think about the planet and think about equality. So it was so important for me that it really was part of me. I mean, sorry for the way I'm saying it in English. I know it doesn't sound so good, but it was my life. And many people have this experience with, for example, the soccer team or the NFL team they follow, that they go everywhere with their Packers hat and their Packers jacket, and when they see someone from Minnesota, they boo them on the car because they are, you know.
Yeah.
So that makes you find your place in the world. It makes you feel relevant and important. And when you actually can create a team that gives people the opportunity to feel that, to experience that, you win the game. That's where you build huge movements. I had this experience last year. I was the main speaker for a wellness company that it's a very renowned wellness company. It's not one of the biggest one, but everyone knows them. So we were in Punta Cana doing a 3-day training, and at the same time, there were the top leaders from Herbalife in Central America. So the amount of people we had were roughly the same. We had like 2,000 people in each company. I was working with this other company. They are both in wellness.
And are they meeting in the same resort or the same convention center? Or?
Same resort, the same building for conventions.
Okay.
The same dates. In the morning, I go to the gym. And when I'm at the gym, the first day that I arrived, the teams were not there yet. So I get 1 day earlier to prepare. So I go to the gym, and the gym is empty, completely empty, no one soul, only my wife and me. Next day, everyone arrives. I go to the gym and I can't go in. It's packed, full. There's no one single spot. So you go in and everyone, there's no one soul in that gym without a Herbalife t-shirt, Herbalife shaker.
Yeah.
There's no one place to do any exercise because everything is taken. So I went to this other company I was working with. I took videos and I went and I say, you know what? This is the difference between building a company and building a movement. And this is what you want if you really want to stay alive for the next 90 years. Because when you actually get that, when you actually make your people live the values of your company, you won the game. There's nothing people can do against you that will be stronger than that. That's when I understood why Bill Ackman and all these sues and everything that happened didn't hurt the company, because people feel they are the company and it's embedded on their blood. And that's what many leaders know how to do very well in our profession, but we would all should strive to achieve that.
It's the most powerful dynamic and so misunderstood. So I'm redoubling my efforts to do your final edits in English. We have to get that book out to the world. For you guys watching who speak Spanish and have Spanish teams, you've got to do that right this moment. What's the exact title in Spanish? I don't want to mess it up.
In Spanish is Los líderes mueren, los movimientos no. Leaders die, movements don't.
Okay. The other thing, one of the things I wanted you to expand on is people have no idea, most people, even people who know you pretty well and people who work with you for years, that you built these big teams in Mexico and Argentina and Dominican and up in Europe and North America. And you're living in Uruguay, which is, people have no, it's like when I got booked to do a speech in South Africa. So I thought, oh yeah, that's cool. Because, you know, you like to collect new countries on your list of where you've been. And, you know, I'd never been to South Africa and I wanted to go see a game preserve or whatever. And so I'm like, man, and I'm in Miami and I say, well, Miami's here and South Africa's there. So it's probably like a 6 or 8 hour flight, you know. Then I get the ticket and it's like, no, you fly 6 hours to France, Paris, you switch there, then you fly like 8 hours to the middle of Africa. You land at 3 a.m. because the plane needs to refuel. The airport isn't even open. You land at 3 a.m. There's a bunch of guards with submachine guns surrounding the plane. The plane gets refueled and then it takes off and goes. And you travel for like 24 hours to get there. That's what Uruguay is like. You are the bottom spot of South America. You know, when we have an event coming up with our Prodigy Council in Miami, and you'll fly like 24 hours. You need an entire day to go anywhere. And Uruguay is not exactly a hotbed of network marketing activity. Most of the time, maybe all of the time, I don't know, is it all of the time? You have been building in companies that are not open in Uruguay. How the hell do you do that? Because that holds so many $million insights on how to build long distance lines. I just, you know, it's mind boggling.
Yeah, just as context, Uruguay is only 3 million people. So network marketing companies don't want to come here because you need to do all the paperwork and everything. The expenses are the same as going into Colombia or Argentina, but only for 3 million people. So there are only 4 network marketing companies in the whole country. When I started at the first company with Agile, I was living in Mexico. So there I built regularly. But that's where I also learned how to build long distance. We had very good teachers. This line from Israel, our closest leader was an amazing guy you, of course, know, named Shai Samuel, who, just as you, he was very methodic. He had always a step-by-step guide on how to brush your teeth, everything.
Okay, Shai is the only person on earth I can honestly say is more methodical than me.
Yeah, he's yeah, absolutely. And he was our teacher. He was the one who taught us how to build long distance, because he used to fly to Mexico to build with us. So when we switched companies, when that Agile company closed and we had to move somewhere else, we had to start all over. But then I was in Uruguay, and this new company was not open in Uruguay, and not even in Argentina, not in any of the countries we already had people. So we had to build where it was open. We had to build in Mexico, in United States, even in Spain. And the key always was finding one leader that was really, really willing to pay the price of being the one in charge of all the team there. So what I used to do is saying, okay, I'm going to this city. We didn't have all these recruiting systems in Facebook and Instagram. You actually had to fly there. So we used to say, okay, I'm going to this city in Mexico. If anyone has people there, you need to send them to me. I will be sitting in a hotel lobby from 9 in the morning to 9 at night. Everyone you know, you send them to me. And I used to call everyone I know and send messages to everyone I know. If you know someone in this city, I need to talk to them. I have something amazing for them. So I used to be 2 days sitting, receiving people, and telling them about our opportunity. But my only goal was finding one leader I could say, you are the owner of this city. I will teach you how to do it through the phone, but you are in charge. And that's the real key, because usually right now that I have many people studying with us, people tell you, so should I go and live there? Should I go and live with them? Should I move to that city? And in my experience, that was one of the biggest mistakes I made. When I was trying to open Cancun, I had an amazing leader there, and they were growing. So I said, I will go and live there. The moment I arrived with my bags to Cancun, the team stopped working, because they said, now Jaime will be in charge of the trainings. Now Jaime will be in charge of doing everything. So they just stopped training. So I found out that going 2 or 3 days and giving them homeworks, giving them assignments that they know what they need to do, and give them the responsibility. This is your place. That was the most important key. And I would love to have more on this, because I would sound more intelligent if I would have more key points on how to build long distance. But the truth is that this was the only main ingredient, finding one and giving them the responsibility and keeping in touch with them every other day just to see how they are going and if they have questions.
The why this podcast has exploded is because there's nobody doing anything like it in the market. Long form, big kid conversations, and we don't pander to the lowest common denominator. And this excerpt that you just shared is the example of that. If you are willing to do the work, right? Any of the people I bring on, whether it's Orion Saleh, whether it's Eric Gamio, whether it's Ivan, whether it's Ann Feinstein, we're not going to spend 3 hours telling you, well, here's how you get a candidate's phone number. There's so many places to get that kind of information. what has been missing until now is the big kid conversations. And if people, and that's why I think it's, it's considered like the PhD program of empowering leadership right now, this whole Chopping It Up series. My phone blows up every Wednesday. As soon goes out at 7 a.m. Eastern. I don't check messages till usually about 9 a.m. Eastern. I've done my cardio, my self-development. I've done my writing, and then around 9 a.m. I'll check. And 2 hours in, they haven't even heard the whole episode. They're 30 minutes through it, or they got the first 20 minutes because they do 20 minutes a day on the treadmill or whatever. But by 9 a.m., the phone is blowing up. The emails are blowing up. And there's always 15, 20 million dollar insights that come out of these riffing conversations. And there was 2 or 3 just in that little couple of minutes you just shared about what happened when you moved to Cancun, right? Because that's when I say you suck all the oxygen out of the room. That is the exact manifestation of that. The other thing you said that I hope people really picked up on was you gave them assignments. And more importantly, it's like assignments for what they have to do for you to come back, right? Because they would just say, well, hey, we do a meeting every first Monday of every month. We need you to come every month. No, you don't do that. You say, okay, well, here's what needs to happen. You need to get so many people to this rank, or you need to get the meeting up to this size, or you need to be bringing in this amount of customers per month and this amount of distributors per month. So that, that's $1 million tip, is giving assignments. Just like if anybody has watched our symposiums, our live seminars, the Cumbre-Palooza, which we now will be doing next as Cumbre-Palooza, coming soon to a world near you. We always give assignments. There's always assignments at the end. It isn't just, hey, I did it, you can do it too. Or, hey, the mama eagle feeds the babies. Or no, it's great. There's a place for inspiration, but there has to be real world content. And then you have to challenge people, challenge them to become higher versions of themselves. And that's part of what you did. That's so important there. And speaking of that, it just makes me think of, I'm trying to think when this come out. I think this is going to come out, might be like a week before we're doing our first in-person session with our Prodigy Council. This was a dream of both of us, was, okay, we want to have a Jedi Council of, there's no other way to say it. We want fucking rock stars. We want CEOs, company founders, field leaders who have 200,000 people on their team, field leaders who make $2 million a year, people who are moving the dial. And we've set it up so that every month we have this 2-hour live coaching via streaming. And then twice a year, we meet in person somewhere for a day, just brainstorming, mastermind. And we're doing that. This first one's going to be here in Miami, so I can share my favorite haunts and hangouts with the members. What are you most excited about for that program?
Well, first of all, based on what you just said, for me, having so amazing minds working together on solving the problems from everyone, that's something that you can't pay for that. I mean, if you want the top 5 dentists from the world together trying to solve how to improve all the problems of each of them, and then how to solve all the dentist industry, there's no price tag for that. I mean, that's something that it's selfish because it's something that I want. I really want to have those minds together. And the other thing that excites me is that people maybe don't understand it. I'm sure they don't understand it, but when you are trying to actually build something big, something that really can transcend and bring hundreds of thousands of people to your team, you cannot copy what someone else did. You need to create it. And that's a fact. You were saying the story of the I Am Agile example for some minutes ago. And if you try to see what happened in every big movement in our industry, it was the same. It was someone who found a new way of creating this amazing identity with their own tools, with their own systems, with their own messaging. For example, when Organo Gold started doing this on every picture, it was a huge movement that everyone copied later, but anyone had the same success because they were the first one doing this on every picture. So you need to be able to create something. And that's very hard, very, very hard to do alone. And there's no one in the world who helped more companies find those unique stuff like you. I mean, I always say joking, it's not joking, I say it seriously. I always say with my team that every system used in network marketing is some system that you developed for them or that they copied from another company where they used to be, where you developed the system. And that's because the mind of most people is I will try to find what's working somewhere else and try to bring it here to this company or to this team. And that can give you some growth, but it will never make you the big story around. So what makes me so excited about this is that being so many minds, with you being one of those minds, will actually help us, all of us, including me. I'm one of the mentors, but including me, it will help us build new exciting stories that are not the copy of someone else. And the final result of that is that is the only way that all of us can really build teams of hundreds of thousands of people and not just a nice team. I think that the people in the Prodigy Council, what is amazing about them is that none of them is thinking on how do I get to the first million. All of them are thinking on how I can become the #1 company or the #1 team in this category. And many of them will, not all of them for sure, because the work of every one of us will be a very important part, but at least we will all have a real shot of becoming the #1 in our category, because we will develop things that no one else is developing. And that's exciting.
It's, for me, the same. Rubber does not sharpen iron. Dirt does not sharpen iron. Iron sharpens iron. And that's the magic of mastermind of all masterminds at their ultimate level, is iron sharpens iron. It's really important. You know, I have been, go back to that blessing curse of being on the autism spectrum, right? Is I have a very high IQ. And how many times have you read a book and they say, if you're the smartest person in the room, you need a new room. Fortunately or unfortunately, blessing / curse, I'm often the smartest person in the room. And you have to, so I've been in 7 or 8 masterminds that I've just outgrown. And I just say, okay, this started as the goal of this was a mastermind of 6 brilliant people who are sharpening each other's saw. But now a year into it, it's 5 people being coached by one guy. And I don't want to be that guy coaching. I want to be in a mastermind where people are coaching me. Why did I partner with you on Duplication Nation? Because of exactly what's happened in this podcast today. I'm picking up $1 million tips listening to you. The friction of our back and forth in everything we do, whether it's the Prodigy Council, the MLM Confidential newsletter, this Cumbre-Palooza event we have coming up. We're really good at challenging each other, and the people we have, we just started. We have not done the actual rollout of the council. It's, I guess the best term to put it right now is we're just in beta mode, and we're working out like, okay, how does this work with different people and different languages because this is not a auditorium with 2,000 people and translator booths and headsets for simultaneous this is people around a conference table, around a dining table in a restaurant, masterminding with different languages, and just some of the logistics of that. And we're figuring out, eventually we'll probably get to the point where we say, okay, on March 1st to 3rd is the Spanish Prodigy Council, and then March 4th to 7th is the English Prodigy Council, and maybe March 8th to 10th is the Ethiopian, whatever. I don't know where we go with that. But the people we have in the beta group are they're doing incredible things. Thais, she's just, I got to get her on this chopping it up at some point, right? If you look at what Anna is doing, who's one of our members, who just, the company has this incredible origin story of just betrayal and drama and trauma. And she was just leading a group of people that just got cut off at the knees by a company that closed and rolled over and went into a pyramid scheme. And she still had that dream, and her group of 5, 6, 7 leaders still had that dream. And they said, you know what, we'll get an investor, we'll find our own factory, we'll create our genealogy, our comp plan, and they loaded up products into their cars and their trucks themselves and drove from city to city, right? So to me, it's just, those are the people you want to be riffing with. That's why I'm so lit up about that Prodigy Council and where it can go. That, that's the coolest thing. And I know we don't have a lot of time, because I know you have a place to go, but that kind of makes me think of the Cumbre de Líder Summit. Summit of Leaders is what that would be in English. You started that in LATAM at a time that no one could do it. People had tried to do it, and there just was, like, Art Jonak has been able to create this safe space with his mastermind event, which is coming up in December 1st to the 3rd in Turkey this year. And I'm honored to say I'll be doing the opening keynote again. and probably a leadership breakout or symposium or something. And but nobody been able to do that in LATAM. There's so many charlatans who were just doing it like we have here in other places, where you have charlatans who are promoting events as generic events, but they're not really generic events. They're used to capture your people's email and try to steal them away or sell them a bunch of useless shit from people you've sold positions on the platform for. And no one could make that work in LATAM, but you made it work. How did you do that?
Well, at the beginning, losing money. that was the way to do it.
We don't say that in the entrepreneur world. We say investing.
Yeah, exactly. But that wasn't my goal at the beginning. Actually, now that you mentioned art and the mastermind, which is an event that we both adore, all this started because I loved the mastermind and it was amazing, but people in Latin America don't have visa, most of them, to actually go to an event there. So every time I spoke with someone about doing this in LATAM, they used to say it would be amazing, but we won't be able to do it. People will start stealing people from one to the other, and leaders won't share what they really think. So everyone wanted to do it, but everyone thought that the next person was someone you can't trust. And I started noticing this pattern because Mari used to say, I really think this is an amazing idea, but I can't trust Juan. And Juan used to say, I really think it's an amazing idea, but I can't trust Mari. So all of the leaders thought it was a good idea, and they all wanted this to happen, but there was a trust issue. So at the beginning, I started with friends. I had amazing friends in the industry, and I booked a room for 100 people. I said, let's start with 100, and if we can make it with 100, we can do it with 1,000, and then with 10,000. And we started like that, just with people that I knew because they were personal friends, that they would never try to prospect someone from another company, and that they would never say to the audience something that they wouldn't be actually doing with their teams. And the complicated part of this is that I had to move away at the beginning from everything that it would be a risk. So I had people from very good companies, but that wanted to be on stage, but I didn't know them. I didn't know them personally. So I couldn't have them with me because I wanted to be sure that I could trust everyone there. And after the first one we did, which of course, I only had 100 people because of this, because I was limiting a lot who could be with us. But after the first one, it all blew up because everyone saw with one time we did it, everyone saw it was possible. And then we started creating a movement. We started selling the dream of having a community of networkers helping each other, where you are not afraid of someone else trying to steal your team. And we started having volunteers, people saying, you know what, I love what you're doing. I want to be an important part of this movement. And I started gathering once a week on Zoom with all the people who wanted to be ambassadors of this movement. And that's how we started. That's how we created this, which right now, it's much more than an event. And that's the amazing part, because right now we have thousands and thousands of people who are actually engaged on the mission of having an industry where we are all helping each other. It doesn't matter what's your company. And some of them come to the event and some of them don't, but they all belong to the company. And some of them have mugs with the brand of the movement we're doing and caps with the brand of what we're doing. And it's something amazing because we have people really committed to developing a profession where we are much, I don't know how to say it, but you know, that where we can help each other and we don't, you understood me, right?
Yeah, I think the dynamic of that, and particularly as we expanded out to Cumbre-Palooza this year and what we're doing with Duplication Nation, is the guiding philosophy is, instead of fighting over a piece of the pie, we collaborate to bake a bigger pie. At the end of the day, there's 7 billion people in the world, and 6.9 billion of them are not in our business right now. And those, you know, we can work together to help those people. We don't have to fight over the same MLM zombies and dinosaurs and, you know, retreads that keep repopulating so many of these tired old deals. We can take the profession forward and build that freedom and build that financial security for people, and you know, allow free enterprise to really blossom the way it's meant to. So, you know what, I'm gonna take this moment to put out a challenge to my gringo friends who are top leaders. If you are building in this the Cumbre-Palooza is, now we're running it under the auspices of Duplication Nation. This is going to be the first time Jaime and I collaborate on that event. And it's going to be done in Mexico in Español. So there will be, but we want to bring in brilliant leaders from around the world who also share their insights with the audiences there who speak Spanish. So for my gringo friends, yes, I'm talking to you, who, if you're building in LATAM, if you have, you know, particularly the US, right? The biggest, fastest growing market in the United States right now is Spanish speaking people. And that's true in some other countries as well. So if you're one of my top leader friends in my private secret phone chat, and you want to speak at Cumbre-Palooza because you want to reach out to the Spanish-speaking market, DM me, and because we're going to do it. Is that November we're doing it?
It's November 17.
Okay. And Mexico City or Cancun, or where are we?
Mexico City.
Mexico City. All right. So it's an easy flight from anywhere.
Yeah.
All right. What else you got on your list or thoughts? We have 5 minutes and 13 and a half seconds left before you have to go. Or how would you like to spend it?
We only have 5 minutes, so I would just like you to tell people about the amazing boot camp we have, because most people don't know, but this is the kind of tool that built my personal business. I mean, when I started on network marketing, one of the most helpful things I had was that we developed the culture of sending all the new team members to the same information. So we had a booklet and everyone went to the same booklet, and that gave them the same basic information. So we all spoke the same language, and that's what helped us grow so fast. And now we both, but based on your previous work, We built this free boot camp for every new team member in the industry to have an amazing culture. And I don't know if you can expand on that, because everyone should be sending that to all their team members.
Everyone should be sending that to all your team members. Amen. Hallelujah to the 100th power. It's free. So if you're wondering, well, how much are you selling this for? What are you trying to sell? It's free. What it is a 3-week survival training. How do you, like, you go through boot camp. If you want to be an Army Ranger or a Navy SEAL or the special forces in any of these other countries, you go through this boot camp of how do you survive when your plane is shot down and you're floating in the middle of the ocean. How do you survive when you're behind enemy lines because your plane got shot down and you're parachuted into a jungle somewhere? How do you find drinkable water? How do you find roots and grubs you can eat and animals or whatever? How do you survive? So we put together a 3-week course via email. It's 9 lessons. So basically, you're going to get 3 lessons a week for 3 weeks. And then at the end of 9 weeks, you will be prepared for how to survive in this hectic, chaotic, crazy profession of direct selling. And it's really just a must do for everyone in the business. It's just, no matter, why do people join MLM crypto scams? Because they're not educated about them. Nobody explained to them. Why do people quit? Because the company gets a little negative publicity, because they weren't prepared for it. Why do people drop out when they're not a millionaire by the 2nd month? Because nobody prepared them for the reality of it. Why do people give up when they face the first rejection or the first obstacle? Because they weren't inoculated against that. What we found, guys, is your team can handle anything if you inoculate them for that. If they hear it from you first, or they hear it from us, a credible source first, right? This is what, when Jaime and I are working with corporations, this is what we're shouting from the rooftops all the time. Hey, if we're going to be back ordered on 8 of the 12 products, tell the field in advance. Let the leaders know. Let them prepare. Don't make them wait, get a call at 10 p.m. on the last day of the pay period, and someone says, hey, I'm this many points away from qualifying for my next rank, and we're out of this, and this product, and now I'm going to miss my rank, and I'm going to lose $2,000 in my bonus, and I have people who want to quit. No, prepare them, educate them. And that's what the boot camp is about, just preparing your people for the realities of the business. So if you could do one immediate action step from this chopping it up session, is the minute it's over, go to duplicationnation.com, go down and find the link for MLM Boot Camp, sign up yourself, cut and paste that link, put it in your WhatsApp and your Signal and your Telegram groups and your Facebook groups and your email trees, and tell everybody on your team, guys, everyone in the team needs to go through this 3-week training. And every time you sponsor a new person, build this right into the new distributor orientation. So you guys, you company execs and you field leaders who are in charge of the book or the booklet or the video or the checklist or whatever you're doing for that new distributor orientation, build the MLM Boot Camp right in there. Put a live link and get your people through it, because it will really make a difference. So, my friend, I don't even know how to thank you enough. I've, been envisioning doing this particular episode. This is part 1, by the way, chopping it up with Jaime Lokier, part 1. There will be a part 2. There will be a part 3. There will be a part 27. There will be a part 211. For the moment, he's doing Spanish, I'm doing English, but we're always going to find a way to get us, the two of us, together, so iron can sharpen iron and you guys get to just eavesdrop in on it. So thank you for your friendship. Thank you for your leadership. Thank you just for being who you are, with the beautiful family you have and the incredible gift that you're providing the world. For you guys watching, you've got to subscribe, like the videos, put your comments down below. If you're doing on the podcast, please rate it, please share, and get, this is what the profession needs, and nobody's been filling this need. Now we're going to do it together, and I'm deputizing everybody who's watching or listening. You are now a citizen of Duplication Nation. Anything else? Final thoughts, my friend?
Only gratefulness. Thank you very much, my friend. You know, you've been my mentor for many years, and I love the idea that we can work together in this. And I love the idea that we are building this Duplication Nation where thousands of people are already with us, and many, many thousands more will come and help us bring back this greatness to our profession, and that people will remember why we are so great. So it's a dream for me doing all this we're doing. My job now, it's my hobby, and my hobby is my job. So it's the best way to be. So thank you very much. And thanks everyone who are here, because of course, if you are here, it's because you are a citizen of Duplication Nation.
All right, everybody. Thank you all. Love you guys. Peace. Hey guys, I'm back, and I just want to thank you for listening or watching, and let you know, if you made it this far, you are a serious, credible leader. You're somebody committed to success, professionalism, and honing your craft, sharpening your saw. So I want to recommend a resource to you. It's a monthly newsletter called MLM Confidential. Leadership lesson every month, duplication lesson every month, something we call the dish, which is kind of the industry news, what's going on in the space, who's moving where, what company's shutting down, what company's opening up, what is the dish, the dirt of what's really going on behind the scenes that maybe the average person doesn't know. And there's a personal challenge every month. So check it out, mlmconfidential.com. I'll see you next week.